Hello, this is Robert from DSP Plug. I'm just out and about and I'm on the go, but I thought I'd make another Stargate video. And what this is pertaining to is the EM aircraft. Think about it. This kind of tape, this kind of effect, and how the plane just kind of floats. Pretty amazing, right? And such a thing like a sort of like a glider can work well. But how else can a plane make money? I'll tell you about that in just a minute. You know, people think that I don't think us through every little detail, but I do. See, I do. I think about every little detail. I try and think as hard and as clearly as I can so that every plan I have can just be dropped into our existing society. And you know what that makes me think? You know, when people think about the Stargate project and flying cars or cars, what have you. I mean, think about it this way. There is a projector on the windshield, on the inner windshield, and on the windows, and it can be like skewed math that kind of has a tiny little projector. They'll be practically indestructible. There's really nothing that you could do to them. If they were in the right spot, they wouldn't hurt your eyes. And it's really not so hard to do. It's not like a hologram. And what it would be is lines, like the road, because you'd be flying through the sky, right? So how do you know where you're driving? Likely you're going to be going on an incline or straight or something like that. Sometimes there would be bends. It's a virtual highway, right? The thing is sometimes the highway might even be moving. And that's the thing about these interesting devices that I came up with, called the pivot. The pivots are quite exciting, but of course, you would have to be driving alongside the pivots because the pivots allow that kind of inertia and support, right? Kind of like a strut, kind of like a reinforcement. And you would see a road ahead. You couldn't really go up and down, could you? Because it is a car. It's not like you could fly up. There might very well be flying cars in the future. There might be something more, but for right now, I mean, we can stick with a regular car. We don't need a different car, right? We don't need to just say, well, let's remake the car because you know what? Not much about it really needs to change. There needs to be a gasket inside, and the gasket protects from pressure and cold and all of those things, even outside the ionosphere, right, in space. And then it also protects on the land too. And it's really all quite conventional. See? And that's the whole point. I try and make it so that nothing really needs to change other than the fact that we make the car engines, right, into bullion. Because that's the best way is to make it into something that you can use and purify it, make it cleanly. Because steel is worth a lot. Steel is worth a lot, and that is important. And you know, there's nothing that could be said bad about our car designs now. They'll work just fine, right? the brakes, all of that, all of the math is in the code, and the code can go into any existing car because of digital signal processing already being in automobiles, right? It's not like it's the end of the world. Sure, there's less mechanics, and this is why I make a point of saying all of this. There's less mechanics, sure, right? But their job innately, forensically, and in the way of a fraternity, mechanics overall can shift over to this EM technology. So people who work with cars will work with the new type of cars. And all of these technologies would be things that they learn. And that counts towards credits, and it counts towards upgrading. That's why you make a plan. Well, you could just drag and drop it, plan the transition, first drive on land, later move on to those more exceptional ideas, but everything is really simple. And in the way of planes, or jets, if you will, it's no different. Still, the EM tape, yeah, sure, the EM tape holds it up, but the fins, those fins are still pretty good. Sometimes you need those fins. Sometimes you need all the functions of a plane. They're all important, integral functions. And there's nothing that needs to change with an existing plane. I think that plainly it would be a really great plus too for them to rethink turbines inside of jets for those big Boeings and all of those. I imagine some of the turbines could, I think most of the turbine could be reused and turned into a power generator. And that power generator could probably generate a whole lot of electricity. I don't know how much electricity we'd exactly need, but oh, yeah, without a doubt. Or something requiring high torque. I can't imagine what that would be, but definitely those turning blades would be moving very quickly. It would be a good way of replacing, let's say, ballasts for a transformer, for a large transformer. Like backup power for a state or a province or a, I don't know, a peninsula of some kind. That would work. Sure. And then you're not wasting parts. Then we don't need to be changing up jets if we ever switch over to that system. And that's really cool. I think that there's a lot of ways to consider things, but the least destructive and the most clearly thought out, that is the way, in my opinion. That is the way to make sure that even on the Stargate, that our houses are made with 2x4s still. 2x4s, 2x6s, you know, wiring, house wiring. Because, it's all pretty good. The only thing I might say is that a few small changes to drywall, maybe being a little bit less prone to water, that would be a nice thing. And so that it didn't crack so much. That would be good too, because the less work, the better. But I mean, it's industry, and maybe I kind of think that those things should last a little bit longer, to be honest, but pretty good. So it just goes to show you, I know that there's a lot of people out there who you could say might be doomsaying, and they want to replace everything, but I'm pretty sure that things can merely be upgraded piece by piece. This is Robert from DSP Plug. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.